Is Bryce Eldridge untouchable? Should he be untouchable? One of the biggest questions, one of the most polarizing questions of the Giants offseason. And we're breaking it down right now on Locked On Giants.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, y'all? I'm Alan Stiles. Welcome to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Now, because of you, the #1 sports podcast network. So thank you. On the show, we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that provides passion, analytics, with the eye test, and a little bit of fun. I'm from the Bay Area, but I live in Sacramento now, and I host a show on Sacktown Sports 1140, as well as emceeing Sacramento Rivercats games. All in all, I'm lucky enough to cover a team I've been a fan of all my life. Today, we are asking the tough questions on a beautiful, beautiful Friday. If you're watching it or listening to it during the weekend, then this will help you enjoy the weekend as well. Should Bryce Eldridge be untouchable? Is he untouchable? What are the Giants saying about it? And we talk about Buster Posey, what he had to say as far as the Giants' spending habits this offseason. And last but not least, we bring back player profiles, a player profile on speedy outfielder and World Series champion Justin Dean. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app today. Should Bryce Eldridge be untouchable? Do we think he actually will be untouchable? These are the questions that everybody is asking with the GM meetings. Buster spoke on it a little bit. This is from John Shea of the SF Standard, and he gives his thoughts on what Buster had to say, as well as some quotes from Buster. This is how Buster gets into the Bryce Eldridge thing. And happy Friday, by the way, if you're listening to this on Friday. If you're listening to this during the weekend, I hope you're enjoying your weekend. And if this catches you next week during the week, I hope it helps you power you through the week. So this is what Buster had to say. I would say we value Eldridge as highly as you can value any prospect in your system, Posey told the Standard at the general manager meetings Tuesday. To be 21 years and have the projectability to be just an offensive force in the major leagues, regardless of what the position is, we value him very highly because of that. With regard to trade talk, the roster has few untouchable. Now, this is John Shea getting into it. Devers, Willie Adames, Matt Chapman, and Logan Webb, obviously, and perhaps other young players depending on the shape of the roster. On that front, Posey said, you have certain players that you know it's almost impossible to move on from, but we wouldn't be doing our due diligence if we didn't listen as well. So, and last but not least, this is what Shea says. Would Posey dare trade Eldridge? At this point, we've learned anything is possible with the president of baseball operations. A Devers trade, for example, Posey dealt two of the organization's prized young players, Kyle Harrison, the first-round pick, and James Tibbs. And he goes on to write that it could come up for Hunter Greene, Joe Ryan, or MacKenzie Gore, all pitchers that obviously the Giants are looking for. The Giants are looking for starting pitchers anywhere they could find them. Here's the thing before you say, Alan, absolutely not. I know the comments are going to be a complete nightmare when I get to them, but that's okay. This would be by far the most cost-effective way to add a pitcher, a starting pitcher, a high-level starting pitcher to the roster. This would be the most cost-effective way. So the argument to trade him or the argument to move on from him is pretty simple. You can get a high-level pitcher. You can get that guy that we've been talking about instead of paying the big bucks to one of these guys, Framber Valdez, Ranger Suarez, any of them, right? Even Dylan Cease, who's on maybe that tier below. You could get a starting level pitcher under team control that's younger than some of the pitching free agents that we've seen. You could do that with a package focused around Bryce Eldridge, right? So that would be the biggest thing and the biggest reason to do it. I think my question on it when it comes to Buster Posey, and we kind of broke this down last week as well, is that something has got to give, right? And this goes to Greg Johnson as well, just everybody within the Giants organization. Something has to give. Okay, you don't want to spend $100 million, or you'd rather not spend $100 million on a pitcher. Cool. okay, now you don't want to trade. And I know you can move other people. It doesn't have to be Bryce Eldridge, but Bryce Eldridge is by far the most enticing piece, I think, in the Giants, in the Giants organization, as far as somebody who's very close. He played in the major leagues this season, and he showed some things, even if the box score didn't illustrate that. We know what we saw, and everybody knows what they saw. He's the closest, and he's the one at that age that the Nationals, if you're talking about MacKenzie Gore or some of these other teams, would say, hey, he's pretty much ready to go, but he's only, 21, 22 years old. So timing-wise, we can have him for a very long time. So you don't want to spend money, but you don't want to move off of Bryce Eldridge. At this point, to me, it turns into something's got to give. That's why I'm calling the Giants bluff on one of these things. Either they actually are going to spend, but they don't want a ton of people knowing that they're going to be a part of the market, or Bryce Eldridge is at some level available. And to take it away from baseball for a second, I mean, those that follow, other sports, Luka Doncic got traded. Now, Nico Harrison recently got fired, and it's a different situation because Luka had already done a ton of stuff in this league going to the finals, or in the NBA going to the finals and things like that. But the point is, anything can happen. Anything can happen. I look at a guy who just won AL Rookie of the Year, unanimous, the 14th AL player to be voted unanimous, in Nick Kurtz, another first baseman. Now, the A's are another team that you never know what they're going to do. They just don't like paying people. But Nick Kurtz is untouchable, right? Nick Kurtz has done things at the major league level that we haven't seen in a very long time. The OPS he put up, we're talking about the same level as Aaron Judge, A-Rod back in the day when he was a rookie, guys like that. He is truly untouchable because we have an actual season, a body of work where he completely balled out. I don't know if you can say that about Bryce Eldridge. Not that I want to move him, because I don't. But if you look at where the Giants are at, as far as the ages of the guys that they've signed, what they're telling us that they're ready to win right now, and the fact that they're saying they don't want to necessarily go out there and spend that high-level cash on a pitcher, the easiest way to accomplish all the things that the Giants want to accomplish would be to move Bryce Eldridge with a package that is focused around him for one of these starting pitchers. Hunter Greene, Joe Ryan. Joe Ryan's a little bit older than the other guys, and MacKenzie Gore, right? Those are the options that John Shea lays out. And to me, I wouldn't be surprised if it happens, because to me, I wouldn't be surprised if anything happens. I'm the guy, and look, things are tough right now in all industries of life, but I'm the guy who you never know what's going to happen. I've been laid off before. I had no clue it was going to happen in a terrible situation. I don't want to say I'm cynical about it, but anything can happen. Right? The idea of being untouchable. If you look at, and basketball, everything is different, right? In football, quarterbacks for sure. Patrick Mahomes is untouchable. Okay? In basketball, clearly it's a little different with Luka being moved, but I think we can all agree that was just a bad trade, right? Luka should have been untouchable. Now let's take it to baseball. Who out there is untouchable? Some guys got trade clauses like Matt Chapman. But other guys, if you look around the league as to who is untouchable, I think every team, it depends on where they're at in the process. If the Giants were rebuilding, I would say that Bryce Eldridge is truly untouchable. But the fact that the Giants are trying to win right now, and they keep trying to tell us that they don't want to spend a ton of money, you have to sift through the options and look at the options and look at what it is. Maybe you can focus these deals around other players for sure. But I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of teams, just on principle, are saying, you want MacKenzie Gore, you want one of these, you want Hunter Greene with the team control that they have at the age that they are, 26 years old. Yeah, I'm going to need that. I'm going to need Bryce Eldridge, and you know that. And the Giants can say no and go out there and buy a pitcher. Okay. But these are the options. These are the options. And you might not like them if you were in the Giants organization, but this is what it is. And you know what? I'm kind of burying the lead here, and I want to finish this conversation on the other side, because I think the Giants already told us that Bryce Eldridge wasn't untouchable. And I will explain that as well as get into some of the money conversations that Buster Posey was having during the GM meetings on the other side. Don't move. More Locked On Giants coming up. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. I have to tell you about my favorite jeans, my Doers. Seriously, they've changed my life. Right now, I'm wearing the Performance Denim Slim Straight, and I cannot get over how comfortable these jeans are. I've been reaching for my Doers for everything, running errands, grabbing dinner with friends, even heading to the ballpark because they look great and feel even better. Here's the thing. Doer jeans have 5 times the stretch of traditional denim, so you can actually move in them. They're also antibacterial, which means they stay fresh longer, wear more, wash less. They're made with Cool Max technology that helps regulate body temperature and wick moisture, so you stay cool and comfortable as the day changes. Honestly, they feel as stretchy as my favorite joggers, but look like I'm dressed up to go out on the town. And it is Friday tonight, by the way. Doer is all about combining classic jeanswear style with athletic level comfort and performance, the best of both worlds. They actually pioneered the original performance denim, blending technical innovation with everyday clothing that looks sharp and feels incredible. Simply put, Doer makes the world's most comfortable pants without sacrificing style. Once you try them, they'll be your go-to pair. Trust me. And if you're in San Francisco, check out Doer's store at 567 Hayes Street. Pick up a pair for yourself or grab one as an amazing holiday gift. Mention my promo code LOCKEDONSF in store to get 15% off your first order, or shop online at shopdoer.com/LockedOnSF for that same 15% off. That's shopdoer.com/LockedOnSF. Your new favorite jeans are waiting. So to close out the Bryce Eldridge conversation, I told y'all I was excited to talk about how Bryce Eldridge may or may not be available, because I do think that these topics are very, very polarizing, and I love hearing everybody's thoughts on it. Here is my, I guess, theory, right? If the Giants went out, and it's not even that tinfoil hat, but if the Giants went out and got Rafi Devers, who they know they're going to have for a very, very long time, and they know what that commitment's going to be, and in a large part, that contract is looked at as fairly untouchable, which is why the Red Sox were excited to move off of it, even if the Red Sox are now looking for a middle-of-the-order bat. But if the Giants made that decision that they were going to make a trade for Rafael Devers and bring in a guy that they're going to turn into a first baseman for the foreseeable future. I know one guy's one righty and one's a lefty, but the Giants doing that, to me, kind of told us already that Bryce Eldridge at some level is not untouchable. On top of the fact that Matt Chapman has a no trade clause. So even if you wanted to say, well, Devers could play first baseman for a year or two, and then they can move off of Matt Chapman. Now, look, maybe Matt Chapman waives his no trade clause, but you're doing a deal. You don't know that that's ever going to happen. So to me, they made this deal for Rafi Devers, and they knew that he was going to be the first baseman, and they knew what that could mean for Bryce Eldridge, and they knew that Bryce Eldridge only plays first base. I mean, maybe they mess around and try to get him in the outfield a little bit, but they made that deal because what you have that's proven is more important, and we should know that as Giants fans, is more important than a prospect. So now they make that deal. Now you have, I wouldn't call it a log jam, but I mean, you're not going to platoon Rafi Devers. So you're talking about this DH first base situation, which is fine, but do you really need, and I know he's young, but Rafi Devers isn't going anywhere. So you're just going to lock in Bryce Eldridge and Rafi at DH first base, which is very possible. Don't get me wrong. Or the Giants may be thinking, hey, we can, if we need to, move somebody like Bryce Eldridge to then fill an actual hole that we have. Because not having a solid DH, obviously you want everybody in your lineup to be an absolute stud. I get all that. And in the playoffs and sometimes even during the regular season, it looks like that one spot always comes up that you are not equipped with. And that could be, your catcher that's hitting, that could be a DH, your right fielder, whoever it is. We understand that. But if you're priding yourself on pitching and the type of ballpark that you play in, I think it's very possible that the Giants made this move and knew that making this move could make Bryce Eldridge just a little bit more expendable if the right price comes along. What's the saying that everybody has a price? Everything has a price. And the price of starting pitching and the price of Bryce Eldridge, they might just parallel together because the Giants continue to tell us that they don't want to go out there and spend that type of money. That's what it is. This gives them a way to upgrade the pitching rotation without spending big money. One of these options has to happen. Are other prospects valued like Bryce Eldridge to allow you to get a MacKenzie Gore or Hunter Greene? I don't know that yet. I don't know. It would depend. I know the Reds, the Reds, to me, why would the Reds want somebody that isn't going to be in the league for 2 years? The Reds just made the playoffs. They got Ellie Dela Cruz. They got guys that they're ready to go right now. The Nationals, maybe, because I think the Nationals might be further away. So maybe the deal is with the Nationals. If you say, hey, we got a couple guys, and you're not going to like those names either. All those top 30 guys that we've talked about, right? The outfielding prospects, the infielding prospects, somebody got to go. And I guess a lot of you would say, well, Alan, I'd rather do that than Bryce Eldridge. And that's fine, because I probably agree with you. But based on the Giants timeline, all these guys being in their mid to late 20s, all their big money guys, and what they're trying to do, it's very clear that the movement of Bryce Eldridge could be a possibility. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. All right, let's get to what Andrew Baggarly had to say, and it features some of Buster Posey's quotes in the media availability during the GM meetings. The dialogue during Posey's media availability Tuesday had a lot more to do with vibes than offseason goals. Posey cited players such as Elliot Ramos, Jung-Hoo Lee, and Luis Matos, while saying there's more in the tank and meat on the bone. Posey made it clear the Giants will augment their roster from the outside world this winter. He made it even clearer that a successful return to the postseason will require internal improvements under the leadership of Vitello and a coaching staff with some assembly still required. Here's the quote. The reality is we're going to need, I looked at it like this as a player. I think I look at it even more so now. The successful teams are going to have players within their system that make an impact, said Posey, citing developing pitchers such as Blade Tidwell, Carson Whisenhunt, Carson Seymour, Kai-Wei Tang as key contributors in 2026. I think for us to get where we want to go, and certainly don't read between the lines and say that we're not going to make any additions, because we will most certainly do our best to improve pitching like always, but we're going to need some of the Tidwells, the Whisenhunts of the world, the Tangs, the Seymours. I'm probably leaving one or two out there to take that next step and really contribute on the pitching side of things. Posey's uninspiring remarks, this is Baggarly, of course, uninspiring remarks appeared in stride with wet blanket comments that Giants chairman Greg Johnson made earlier this month when the SF Standard asked him about competing at the top of the starting pitching market, where Framber Valdez, Dylan Cease, Tatsuya Imai, and perhaps Ranger Suarez will command contracts in excess of $100 million. And again, going back to his reply, I'd say we're going to be very cautious about those kinds of signings. So they're still saying the same thing. And this connects back to the Bryce Eldridge situation. They're still saying the same thing. And they're saying, well, we're going to do this and we're going to do that to upgrade internally and to get better internally. I just don't see them running out two of those guys, right? I just don't see them running out Carson Seymour, Carson Seymour and Carson Whisenhunt, Blade Tidwell, and you didn't even say Hayden Birdsong, which I just realized that. I don't see that happening. I do not see that happening. So, that is going to be a fascinating situation for the Giants. Obviously, they're saying what they feel like they want to put out there. but I just don't think realistically, again, you can say what they continue to say, but then on the other hand, say, we want to be about pitching and defense when you'd be looking at two unproven starters in your rotation. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. One more segment with you. We're bringing back player profiles. Justin Dean and his player profile, the speedy outfielder and the recent World Series champion. And what can he bring to the San Francisco Giants? More Locked On Giants coming up. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On Giants the #1 podcast network. It's been a while since we've done a player profile, and I thought what better way to take a little breather from the rumors and the buzz and everything that's been going on and the reports, as nothing has really happened yet, than by bringing back some player profiles and doing it with the newest Giant, Justin Dean. Drafted in 2018, the speedy outfielder was selected by the Braves. He did not end up getting to the promised land. That reached its end, and he ended up signing with the Dodgers on a minor league deal. Just a little background on Dean. He spent 3 years starting for Division II Lenoir-Rhyne University in North Carolina, hitting and running well enough to catch the attention of area scouts. After hitting close to 400 as a junior, the Braves took him in the 17th round of the 2018 draft, then saw him play his way to full season ball during his summer debut. He spent his first full year of pro ball at that level, swiping 47 bases before finishing off the year in the Arizona Fall League. And here is kind of a breakdown of his profile. Dean is one of the fastest players in the minor leagues, with some scouts giving it an 80 on the 20 to 80 scouting scale. He's clearly a base stealing threat and knows his bread and butter is to get on base, so he can wreak havoc on the base pass. Power isn't a huge part of his game, but he can impact the baseball with some extra base authority from the right side. Dean's speed also allows him to cover a lot of ground in center field, and he has a chance to play there for a long time where his fringy arm isn't as big of a concern. He missed a year certainly hurt him, so he'll need to prove his skills will play at the upper levels, but he has a chance to be a table setter type, perhaps with a career as a fourth outfielder, most likely. So again, 5'8", 28 years old. Hey, shout out to my smaller players out there. 28 years old, 18 games with 2 at-bats, still looking for his first major league hit, and that's what he did with the Dodgers. In AAA last season, he slashed 289, 378, and 809 with 27 bags and 6 home runs. For his whole AAA career, 10 home runs in 196 AAA games between the Dodgers and the Braves, 59 bags, and was only caught 14 times. He was on the Braves, a AAA team, for a while and just couldn't crack the code. Then he made his way to the Dodgers. He's a good defender, doesn't strike out a lot, fits the mold for what the Giants are heading towards, but I have no clue when he would see the field. Feels like he's going to be kicking it with me a good bit in Sacramento. He is optionable, so I do hope to get to know him out here in Sacramento when he is probably going to be optioned. You know, the biggest surprise to me in this, and I get it, the other guy that I'm about to name is a lefty hitter, is it just feels a lot like Grant McCray. So I'm curious why they felt like they needed to add him. The other thing, somebody hit me up and commented when I said Luis Matos maybe should be able to have more runway. Somebody responded and said, what about Tyler Fitzgerald? And I think that's a great call out, because Tyler Fitzgerald was starting in center field when the River Cats ended. So now you're bringing Justin Dean. He's 28 years old. I honestly thought he was a little bit younger before I looked him up. He's 28 years old. You already got Tyler Fitzgerald. You still got Wade Meckler, who's played center. You still got Grant McCray. It's a little bit of a head scratcher, even at the AAA level, if you want those guys to get as many ABs as possible. Maybe they think that later in the season he could be able to help out the same way he helped out the Dodgers. I guess that's possible. But yeah, I was a bit surprised once I went a little bit deeper into his profile based on age and things like that, that the Giants decided to bring him in. But always happy, like I said, to have another little speedy outfielder to kind of go back and forth with. And I do hope to spend some time with him. I'm just not really sure what the path is and how impactful he will be on the Giants. you never know. Maybe he gets an opportunity and he makes the most of it. That's all anybody can ever ask for. I think the one thing I will say is at the center field position, not to get on Jung-Hoo Lee again, maybe the Giants feel like bringing in as many guys that can play a premium position as center field is just a good thing to have, and they can figure the rest out later, especially when you have somebody optionable like Justin Dean. Thank you for watching and listening to Locked On Giants. Have a great weekend. It was a fun one. I know everybody wants moves to be made, and I want moves to be made too. I wish I could snap my fingers and get it done, but I can't. Maybe one day I'll be in the Giants front office, but not yet. Right now, I'm rocking with you Monday through Friday, every single day, giving you all the info that you need. Have a good weekend. Enjoy your day. And until Monday, we will talk to you soon. Peace.